Hello everyone, JGTC here. Today I have Logan, my friend, and one of the best looking, I can't even call it time attack car because it's not just a time attack car. One of the best looking cars I've ever put my eyes on. It's an RX7 FD because it's so exquisitely done. Look at it, admire it. And Logan, tell us your story. Like, how did this come to become, you know? Like,
well, I mean, obviously, growing up, always around cars, and you start modifying them, and the snowball effect starts taking over. So each RX7 I built kept getting crazier than the last. This one I picked up as a rolling chassis. I mean, it was really ugly. It was black, and it didn't have a sunroof though, which was the two things I needed. And from there, I basically had a clean slate. So I went ahead and built a cage from scratch, and it, went through all the race modifications. It was a 3-rotor originally. It still had this stockish bodywork. It had a fender flares and fiberglass front fenders, and ran like that for quite some time. And then I pulled the 3-rotor out and decided to go 4. When I went 4-rotor, I kept like a NASCAR transmission, a 4-speed.
Okay.
Then later, when I did this body, which after driving around for a little while, it was pretty fast. I mean, I think I did like a 132 at Mid-Ohio with the old bodywork, and then I decided I just love the look of this. Really JGTC.
Yes.
And so
exactly what it reminds us of.
This is a complete, like, my own version of a GT300 car. But because you can't buy them, obviously. So I basically made my own, and I literally took cardboard and kind of made a body out of cardboard with like wooden sticks, and I just kept changing in, trimming in, cutting in until I got like the design exactly where I wanted it. And then from there, I scanned the paper templates and imported them into CAD and had a made up to water jet cut them out of aluminum. And then once the aluminum was cut, then I slip rolled it, got the curves and the bends, and then welded the two halves together.
Really?
So that's a TIG weld joint there and there. And then of course made the side skirts and everything.
Yeah, because Alex and I were just wondering, like, how do you even build all these? Because like, it looks.
I'm not a body guy, so fiberglass was kind of out of the question, especially getting the left and right exactly the same.
Yeah.
But doing that with aluminum, since it was a paper template, you just flip the template, so they are absolutely identical in every dimension. The only hard part was getting the curves exactly identical. But once the body was done, I had my body shop go through and smooth it out perfectly, because you get a little warpage from welding it. Then I went sequential transmission, so it's a 6-speed sequential now, 4-rotor. Still, I keep it at NASA spec, which is 430 wheel, so it's 430 wheel. It can go up to 610 wheel, but I never run it at that. I really actually like this setup because it has more bottom end torque. Power comes on around like 4,500, and goes to about 75, 8. And 8,000 is fine shift. You can go to 9, you can go to 10 if you want to go to 10, but it doesn't make power up at 10 with this exact intake on it. So the monologue wheels, these are JGTC wheels off a Supra. So they're pure magnesium forged monologue. If I break one, that's it. I can't get another set.
Really?
I just go custom, like BBS monologue or something like that, because I can't find another set of these wheels anywhere. But I had a matching set. I got them.
Find the first set.
I found them in Thailand, of all places. So I had it shipped from Thailand. Some collector had them. They all spun true, and I haven't damaged them. So yeah, so the 4-rotor engine is a custom built unit. You do use like 2-rotor parts. So like each housing and each rotor is the same as a 2-rotor, but you have a custom-made eccentric shaft and custom counterweights and custom bolts and machine work, and you basically make a 4-rotor out of 2-rotor parts.
Isn't those like 4-rotor like center shaft stupid expensive over like something?
It's not cheap, yeah. I mean, it's all made from scratch. So the eccentric only is I think about 4,500, $5,000, something like that for just the eccentric shaft. So yeah, this has been in here 7 years, maybe a little longer than that now.
Really?
Yeah, it's been around for a while. And for a while, I was just doing like testing, horsepower development and stuff like that. I didn't really get to the track very often. And since I run Defined Autoworks, I don't get any seat time. I mean, it's been 2 years. I haven't raced in 2 years. So this is my first time back, and I'm definitely rusty. It's nowhere near. Best I've done out of this is a 130 here at Mid-Ohio. 130.1, but today I did a 134. I'm just rusty.
all these like those tubular like chassis, everything you built everything.
Everything,
yourself.
yeah. Yeah, the control arms I built. So, you know, when you're pulling near 2Gs through corners and I'm like in the middle of it, I have to remember that it's like my welds are holding my life together, like really, literally. You know, like, so every time I'm welding something, I'm like, this is like, my life is depending on these welds, literally, because if I screw up and they break, you know. So I did the best I could and they've never broke.
Honestly, if it don't say that, you feel like somebody just bought like an ex-JGTC car or something.
Seriously.
Yeah. If you don't know better.
That was my goal. This thing was really cool. So this front splitter is off a Daytona prototype.
Oh, really?
Like the Rolex 24. And I actually have a Daytona prototype. I have a Gen 1 Riley Daytona. But I've never finished putting it together. When I picked up that car, a guy I know that used to work with, well, everybody knows Mike Shank Racing. Mike Shank, I used to work for him a long time ago, just doing odd jobs. He hooked me up with a spare. So this is off a Gen 3 Daytona prototype.
We need some kind of hookup.
We need a Mike Shank.
This thing, like, there's only 2 struts on it, right? And I mean, it's like, it's insanely, it doesn't flex at all. But the strut rods are just right here. We try to get creative with the ducting, and then it bolts on right to the upper.
So that's what it was for.
Yeah. So those 2 rods right there.
Huge. It goes all the way to here.
Yeah, right
And
to
then
the
goes
chassis.
through it and to the.
Yeah, exactly.
That's wild.
So that's only 2 mounting points and 2 at the back. It is adjustable, but unfortunately I had to kind of build the whole front end off of it, so it moves my whole front end with it. So it's not really adjustable. I'm working on that though. I'd like to make it where I could kind of tweak it. Radiator, this is a CNR out of a NASCAR. The NASCAR radiators that's like my underground secret. You put a NASCAR radiator in anything, it will not overheat. I've done it on V8s, I've done it on anything you can think of.
Jackie's thinking though.
Yes. If you ever have heat, heat issues.
I mean, there's a NASCAR Supra, which is not really a Supra.
I'm letting out the speed secrets, but that's seriously NASCAR radiators. They're dirt cheap because you can get them brand new, just secondhand used, and they cool down. This is still too big. I could go smaller. I mean, it never goes over 86 degrees Celsius. Even today, 86. So it never has a problem. Just use Wiggins, Wiggins on everything. Wiggins clamps are just quick disconnect, so there's no hose clamps. Suspension's Penske. I can't remember what series. The external reservoir quad adjustable, which I've never adjusted. Don't have any sway bars. I'm still working on getting sway bars on it. Never touched anything. I just ran it. Like, I've never played with camber, I haven't played with toe, I haven't played with ride height.
That's nuts.
Because I'm just always rusty driving. So I wanted to get to a point where I can't drive any faster, then start messing with the car. It seems to be what most people tell me to do.
Next question. Is this like a full custom knuckle or just like adapter?
It's actually RX7 hubs, and then I had my machinist make a monolug to go onto that factory upright. So it uses the RX7 bearings and everything, and it slides onto the Mazda upright. So it actually has all factory subframes, suspension pickup points are all stock. Rear suspension is all stock, just the control arms are aftermarket, and I grew it.
Yeah, this is actually street class.
I mean,
this is no motorsport knuckle, but this is it. This is motorsport knuckle.
You're correct.
Yeah.
Street class.
This street car right here, man. This is all street car. I mean, people ask me like, when are you gonna drive on the street?
Street car.
So, yeah, it's pretty interesting. I widened the control arms about 4 inches for the wider bodywork.
Yes, we can tell.
Yeah. The front is, I think, 5 inches wider than stock, and the rear is 6 inches wider on each side.
Yeah, it looks like some endurance spec Brembo.
Yeah.
Too, right?
Yeah. Those are off a prototype, Daytona prototype also.
Yeah, that's kind of, you can tell from the layout and the thickness.
Only 13-inch rotor.
Yeah.
But they're like 1.25 thick, and
you look at the pads, like that's gonna last me like 3 years.
Yeah.
I've never wore out pads.
Yeah,
pads.
this is year thick.
It's about an inch, a little over an inch per pad.
Wow.
No brake ducting. Still haven't needed it yet. I'm getting close.
Yeah.
There's a couple of times where I thought it maybe faded. It's hard for me to tell, but they just kind of do their job.
It's kind of crazy, like it's how wide this thing is.
Yes.
Yeah, it's almost 80 inches wide.
Does it even fit in any regular trailer or just?
Barely. You can see the rub marks on my side skirts on the back.
Oh, that was for holding?
They rub the trailer all the time. So I can't keep paint on that area. It's always rubbing in transportation, especially when you go like far distances, it'll move and it'll touch because it's like a 1/4 inch on each side.
Wow.
It's kind of nerve-wracking to load it and unload it.
Move on to the interior a little bit.
Sure.
So this is like all carbon in here. Everything, the center console, the side. tunnels and everything.
Yeah. When I did the sequential transmission, I wanted to kind of strengthen the chassis even more. So I cut out the whole tunnel, and I basically there's a tube that runs across the cage, and it's a spine that kind of comes across and down all tubular to triangulate it all. And then I just covered it up with carbon panels from there, and just made a carbon dash, out of flat carbon stock or whatever.
That's so hot.
I know.
Yeah, it's still hot.
And look at like the sequential livers like tilted to you.
Yep.
So it's
I tried to get
right
the
there.
position as good as I could.
Yeah.
Because it's kind of a remote shifter.
Yeah.
So I want to go to paddle eventually. You can paddle upgrade, where you get the pneumatic upgrade for it. That'd be nice. Just keep your hands on the wheel.
It's more manly with a stick.
Yeah.
It is cool with the manual.
Yeah,
the manual.
It's just like, this is probably pedals more efficient, but it just feels more manly.
I do like the manliness of it, but man, it's like those corners. I mean, you know how fast they come up.
Yeah.
You're like, oh crap, dang.
Totally.
It gets crazy.
Wow.
So. Yeah, it's all dry sump, so you got dry. That's the oil tank back there behind the driver's
that's what
seat.
it's for.
Yep. Fire system is in there, batteries in the rear, and then this is for my helmet. It directs cool air from here and blows it into my helmet. Keeps my face a little cooler. Fuel cells underneath the aluminum
So all
shroud.
the towers are factory location too?
Yeah.
Crazy.
Whole unibody. I mean, aside from just like removing the tunnel and moving the firewall, the unibody was just clearance for the tubs, because this got so much lower with the new bodywork. So I tubbed out everything inside of there so it can have the really low.
Also, just to show people how low this thing is, you had to like raise the hood to actually match like the fender. That's how low this thing is.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah, it's really low for sure. And the tires are really big in diameter. These are 27 and a half inches tall in the rear and like 26, I think, in the front. So.
What tire size? 315 and 60.
Yeah, I stepped it down. I used to run 335, 345, but I felt like I couldn't get them warm enough. Especially and when you're doing time trial, you're not on track very long. So I'm trying 315, 325. I might even go smaller. I don't know. I need to get a infrared like onboard tire temp and see how hot these are getting and if I'm optimizing them or not, which that would be all. The final development is I want to get sway bars on it, some more telemetry, and just drive it more, because I hardly ever get to drive the poor
Also,
thing.
people, in case you didn't realize, look at that torque range.
Yeah.
Can you just showcase this to us?
Yeah, so this
near mortals, how do you
Yeah, so for people think center lock is cool. Yes, it is cool, but
if you want to stay in shape, you just do curls and do every day.
Wow.
You just curl it.
It is literally a hand.
yeah.
It's I can't remember what size it is. 2.5 inch.
Yeah.
So 2.5 inch socket, and that's on these big old mono lugs right here. Now it's funny as you see in videos on Japan, they use ones like that big. I'm not sure why. I mean, because you can do it even one-handed. It's not too terrible. It's 350 to 450 foot-pounds, and so. And every once in a while, on the front wheels, it starts spinning the wheel, and you can't get them back off again. So I have a big semi-truck impact wrench, and that 1-inch drive, it'll get it off for you. Recently, I did add power steering. For a long time, I drove this car manual steering, manual brakes. There's no power assist brakes, so I added a Toyota Prius power steering unit.
Really?
Out of a Toyota Prius.
Toyota Prius comes.
So this is hybrid powered, right? I made sure to stay a little green. That's what the green represents, is how clean this thing is for the environment. Why are you guys laughing about this? This is serious. This is super clean for the environment. It's electric power steering. I mean, that had to save like 2 birds, at least.
2 birds.
For just going electric. But that helped tremendously.
Yeah.
I literally couldn't run this for more than 1 day because the next morning I couldn't wake up. It was completely exhausted. And once I added power steering, remember to drink water in the morning, not coffee, then I could actually go 2 or 3 days because it just wore you out. And it's just a standard APR 1000. I don't think it's maxed out by any means yet. It's probably, maybe 50%.
It looks tiny on this car for some reason.
50%.
Yeah, these are huge wings.
Yes.
That's what everyone tells me.
This
like,
is
you need to
actually
go
bigger than ours. Yeah. It looks tiny on this car.
Yes.
Yeah, people are saying that. I think they make a larger one now. This is a 71-inch, and they make a 76 now. But I'm like, I don't need any extra. I haven't even maxed this out yet. But I need to play around with that, kind of change the angle and see what it can actually do.
Can we just say this? The bumper is kind of stock width, right?
That is
that's
the stock
factory
bumper.
bumper.
That's the factory bumper.
That's the
width.
factory
Can you put your
bumper.
hand in there almost? Well, a whole hand.
This is how much wider this car is.
I think his head will fit in there.
Honestly, if you look at the
Yes, my head tire. Most of the tires out of the body.
Oh yeah, it was pretty funny. Trying to think, it's stock rear end with just a cos diff.
Really?
Yeah.
No actual stock rear
Stock
differential.
RX7 410 rear end.
Wow.
Just a cos 1.5 way. Yeah, it's pretty crazy. Yeah, it's been hanging up. I don't even have a diff cooler on it, but it's also probably on the list of things it needs because it gets pretty damn warm, I'm sure.
What it reminds me the most of is those Jazz GT chassis, like custom built GT300 cars. They're so low and so low.
like the Aya Mania, the Aya Mania GT300.
Like the new Supra that they have for the GT300. It's all like the super low.
I realize that's what makes the look. I'm like, they slam the chassis to the ground and then they arch all the chassis work out to just get the tires way up. And that's why when people want to buy this body, I would make one for them, but you can't just bolt it on because it looks stupid. Even if you make the tires wide, it'd have like a tire gap like that big. So you got to gut the unibody to be able to get the down to the ground.
We're doing that, Alex.
I mean, we have 2 FD chassis in the back of the shop.
We do have that.
Oh.
We do have 2.
Well, perfect. There you go.
One actually has trees growing inside of it.
Oh, well, that's even more green than this.